78 laps to come then. Alonso's angling his car straight towards Max Verstappen. It's lights out, away we go. Alonso, I think, got a better start. He cuts off Esteban Ocon. Verstappen, though, will get into Sandoval in the lead. Ocon on the inside. Too far back to make a move, and Fernando Alonso slides around the corner, stays away from the barrier. There is Carlos Sainz under pressure from Lewis Hamilton behind him, but it's Verstappen. Leads Alonso, leads Ocon, then Sainz, Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, and Pierre Gasly through Casino Square. Down the inside, and maybe contact. There goes Nico Hülkenberg. Did he make contact with Lance Stroll? Lance Stroll's in trouble there, squeezed against the barriers. Alex Albon just in front of him, and there was contact between Hülkenberg and Lance Stroll. Down at Mirabeau, Stroll might have a bit of a problem. Down the inside at Portier, tries Valtteri Bottas, nothing doing there. That was an opportune moment from Nico Hülkenberg. It went wrong for him. Lance Stroll suffered.
Let's push him to his tires.
Ooh, pushing him, he was going for the move there. And there's damage to that front wing. You can see the end plate hanging off. He thought there was a gap there. The gap just disappeared. He was pushing, but pushed too hard.
Yeah, that wasn't the right call. That was a 50-50 move there, and now it's wrecked his race.
As Carlos Sainz now comes into the pits, his teammate Charles Leclerc goes through turn 1.
Exactly what I talked about. Exactly what I talked about.
Slow intro, Hamilton 1.4 behind. The main target there was to cover Hamilton. Hamilton 1 second behind.
I don't care about Hamilton. I was weak.
There are some pockets of rain a few kilometres away from the track we're monitoring.
Alonso is now coming into the pits, Martin.
Well, that's an interesting strategy for Alonso. That will force Red Bull to do the same, surely.
So let's just look at this. Carlos Sainz right behind Esteban Ocon as another car straight lines at the chicane. Ted Kravitz down
dry
to you.
Tyres. It's the dry tyres. And Alonso doesn't think this is the weather. It's heavy enough for wet tyres. And I've got to say, at the moment, I think he's right.
Max Verstappen has just hit the barrier at Portier and has carried on going with no damage. He is still out in the lead of this race on dry tyres. Fernando Alonso is second on a new set of medium compound tyres. And there's a yellow flag in Sector 2. And it's for Sainz.
Alonso has pitted for dry tyres. Understood, Max.
We need inters.
We need inters now.
Understood, Max. We are pitting for inters.
There goes the intermediates for Verstappen in the lead.
Max Verstappen then carries on in this race now on intermediate tyres. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are almost having a slow motion replay, but it's live action. They're going and tiptoeing so slowly. Stroll's another one to hit the barriers out there.
Alonso pits again. Alonso pits for intermediates.
Leclerc and Sainz are going so slowly, Alonso will still come out in second place, you would imagine here.
And
box, are they stacking at Ferrari?
Yeah, they're going to have to stack, aren't they? Because they're too close together.
Into the pits then, Fernando Alonso for those intermediate tyres. Slow pit stop for him, and you have to watch out now for other cars coming into the pits where you might just get held up a little bit more. Ocon goes up into third, Hamilton goes up into fourth. They're double stacking at Ferrari. Look really neat there for Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz has lost out after going off the track, but both Ferraris losing out to the two Mercedes. Hamilton fourth, Russell fifth. Leclerc and Sainz now down in seventh and eighth, or Leclerc's just out ahead of Gasly. Gasly in between the two Ferraris, and the rain has rather ruined Ferrari's afternoon. And into the barriers goes Kevin Magnussen. They wanted to put him onto the full wets. They didn't have time. Down at Raskas, he's stopped. Gets going again, thankfully, and can now get himself into the pit lane.
That would have transformed the shape of the race had we had a safety car. If it had stalled that.
Just a bit. You're absolutely right. It wasn't Alonso just ahead. You got Nick de Vries as the back marker, just behind Fernando Alonso. So, Ted, down to you.
Yeah, so Magnussen's wrecked his front wing. The mechanics have only just realised, so while the full wets go on, they're pointing to the front wing and saying this needs changing, so he's losing even more time.
There's another Haas going off the track. There's Kevin Magnussen on the full wets. So even with the full wet weather tyre, he didn't have the grip that he wanted. Finds the runoff down at Sandoval. Will try and reverse back out onto the track again. It's quite safe. His teammate Nico Hülkenberg's just gone through turn 1. Perez going through the final corner. He's got a bit of time, but at least we can see there, Martin, the extent of the rain down at turn 1.
It's a huge runoff there, and he's gone all the way to the end of it. Meanwhile, somebody else down the escape road. There's 2 cars down the escape road.
And it's
That's
an
George
Aston
Russell.
Martin.
So we have a 5-second time penalty for the rejoin.
Oh!
Yeah, understood.
So you've...
I couldn't see anything.
Oh, that was the rejoin then. It wasn't in the pit lane. That was the unsafe rejoin on the track.
So contact made with Sergio Perez, and Perez making contact with the barriers as he slides in on the entry to the swimming pool chicane. Keeps up his record, Max Verstappen, of finishing in the top 2 of every Grand Prix this season. Finished 3rd in the sprint race in Baku, but he's going to add another victory to his ever-growing roster of wins in this 2023 season, and he's going to add another victory to his Monaco collection too.
He won this yesterday with that brilliant lap. Gave him track position into turn 1. Controlled what has been a very, very challenging race all the way through.
And it will be a 39th win for Red Bull for Max Verstappen, which will be a new team record. He surpasses Sebastian Vettel, who won 4 titles for this team, and one day he might well surpass Vettel's 4 titles too. It's been another Verstappen turn it up to the max and come home to win on the streets of Monaco. Max Verstappen wins the Monaco Grand Prix, and he wins by a country mile from Fernando Alonso.